Hello, I'm Postmaster-General of our world, Russell-J. Gould. And this is truly a story of good versus evil. From the foundations of the setting up of the quantum grammar system and the quantum postal system, as well as the quantum banking system. For those of you who know me and know my ex-business partner, David-Wincola-Miller, and have been with us for more than 20 years, this is not a secret. There was good and there was bad. My ex-business partner, unbeknownst to me, was giving the documents that I was creating to set up the quantum banking system and the quantum postal system to the top 1% of the 1% of the world. And I didn't figure this out till halfway through this journey, which made it very difficult because I was doing this for the people. I was doing this to create a sovereign world for myself and to explore the boundaries of communication, as well as how contract was working as we came to docking on this earth, or whatever, flat earth, whatever you believe there. It's not my position to argue any of those points with you on this video. It's just to give closure on contract and how contract is formed. The first contract that we get when we come here is called a birth certificate. In 1999, the birth certificate system's authorization in the former United States and United States of America ended, which means all the birth certificates that were created prior to 1999 and after 1999 were null and void. This is a valuable thing to know as you look at the overall picture of what the current events are happening here today. And we'll come back to this. In the shipping war that was designed through the birth certificate system, it was designed to make the vessel chattel to a piece of paper, and that piece of paper then would be the guidelines which you would be judged as you navigated from your birth to your death in what they call probate court in the United States, and they would put your name what's called a nom de guerre, which is all capital letters. But because the birth certificate system's authorization ended in the United States in 1999, the capacity for them to now use the birth certificate to hold people accountable ended. Well, I felt this was a good thing. However, my ex-business partner, David-Wincola-Miller, gave it to people who used it for bad, which means they knew that the system and the grammar had ended. They knew the flag authorizations and the credentialing for controlling contract and setting venue in courts and banks had ended, and ports had ended in 1999. However, they used the grammar to then turn around to the broader perspective of planet Earth, knowing that they were no longer accountable for anything that they did because the grammar was fraudulently conveyed, and they used what was set up for the people to then destroy the people. So we're going to come back to that as we continue on here. In 1999, David-Wincola-Miller and myself filed in on the Title IV 1-to-1.9 dimension flag with what we called a life-life birth-claim. And this was what we call a claim of the life. And we filed for the flag description of the Title IV Section 1, 2, and 3 1-to-1.9 dimension flag. We filed it at the United Nations as well as the U.S. Pentagon and the U.S. Post Office as the United States was coming out of international bankruptcy. And that was done on August 12th, 1999. So when they came out of bankruptcy on November 2nd, 1999, the federal government did not have a flag because the 45-day trust moratorium had already cured on our claim on the flag under maritime salvage, because the flag was going to be derelict in its functions for claim and closure of what the description of the contract flag for the people of this country is. But I took it to a much broader perspective when I disqualified the Universal Postal Union's charter in 2001, in July of 2001, which disqualified the authorizations for birth certificate systems and the central banking systems, as well as militaries in all countries on planet Earth. Well, when we looked at the overall function of what made a military, what made a bank, all the functions pointed to, the mechanics pointed to the post office as the central hub, and the shareholders and stakeholders of those corporate entities being the post offices, the central post offices for each country, which was then an umbrella corp for the Shell Corp, which was in Bern, Switzerland. But because they traversed with me in a meeting for 4 hours in 2003, where the closure on the new postal venue was set up on the mechanics of the flag, on the mechanics of the grammar and the structure in which how people would be able to contract as the fiction was supposed to be moved out of the way, they took those connotations and they then used that technology to then delete and cancel all boundaries and borders on planet Earth. When they did that, they started terraforming the planet. And what you're seeing now in our borders from France to the former United States to Mexico, as these birth certificate vessels or people are being transported from point A to point B, they can just let them go through and pass on however they want, because there's no guideline structure, number one, to stop them, to give them a designated course to be on for people, because there's no guidelines for these ports of entry, which is EN means no, so no, your ports of no try, to allow people in and out of borders, because the borders are no longer there, because the grammar for the corporate structure that gave claim to where the border is null and void because of the fictitious grammar in violation of Title 18, 1001. And so the countries and the leaders of the countries, being the banking families, the corporations behind I take that back. The money behind the shareholders for these corporate entities who are allowing this mass theft of planet Earth to happen, and this human trafficking racket that they have going on, is now at an all-time high. So a couple of real sad things have happened in setting up the quantum grammar. One of the things that was very unfortunate is I was tried out to have myself surrender my position with the flag by the federal government, as well as the state governments in Wisconsin, Michigan, Wyoming, and different states around the United States, where because I was no longer chattel to the birth certificate, they used my body as collateral, and they beat me up a whole bunch. Now you got to comprehend, it's a humbling thing to get knocked out by the U.S. Marines when they jump you 10-on-1. It's a pretty humbling thing to get knocked out by the U.S. Marshals when you're handcuffed up and they knock you out, 20-on-1. There's not a lot of defense. There's only so much a guy can do. But I was not angry with those people, because those people, you have to comprehend, they did not see the bigger picture. They thought they were just getting me to try to surrender the flag, which never happened. However, my business partner, David-Wincola Miller, he did surrender the flag. He did give in to the torture. He did give in to but he wasn't tortured because he surrendered. He did it willingly. The condition of his heart was not to stand his ground. And it takes a lot within your heart to stand there and take those beatings when you know that it does hurt. It is rough when they use food as a weapon. And from 2003 to 2007, I was in many physical battles with the federal government, and I ended up having to hold the largest military court-martialing in the history of planet Earth in Washington, D.C. every 45 days. But the U.S. military, you have to comprehend, there's those at the top that control it, and then there's those that are below that they will point all the blame to when the whole thing collapses. And so I learned this in my journeys on the 4th floor of the U.S. Treasury on January 15th of 2002 in Washington, D.C., When the head of U.S. Secret Service came in to have a meeting with me, and he told me, look, Russell, he said, it's the corporate policy of the United States government to hire stupid people. That way the shareholders and the people that are on top are not accountable for what they do, these lower end people do to the people. And we're seeing a lot of those consequences right now when you have these ICE agents, these border agents that are good people. They have families here in this country. They love their communities. They love their families. And they're being ordered and commanded to allow these vessels. They don't know why, right? Nobody knows exactly why, and they don't know how they can stop it. But the authorization for there to be a border just isn't there. Because, as you know, there are no presidents. That all ended in 1999 in the United States. So all that nonsense has ended, and the perpetrators have been thwarting, pillaging, and the U.S. military is allowing mass murderers to walk around, such as George Walker Bush, who killed over 1 million people in his nefarious games for the fraudulent war that he conveyed against the American people on 9/11, and then the fraudulent war that was perpetrated against the Iraqi people in Afghanistan over the opium and oil. And so that's a mass murder. You know, George Walker Bush that's on the list. And then you got another mass murderer, Bill Gates. And Bill Gates is out here saying that he's going to vaccinate you and genetically modify your thinking so that they can control your condition of mind, which will then control the output or the outsource of who we are as people. So we got 2 mass murderers, and they're on the loose. And the U.S. military, you are a participant. NATO, you are a participant. Russian military, you are a co-conspirator in the mass murder of planet Earth. So that's unfortunate that is happening. And so I have concerns as the Postmaster-General of our world, because I did not authorize the vaccines of the people, because I disqualified in the court-martialing, I disqualified the World Health Organization in 2005 with my Surgeon-General, Stephen-Alvin Roebuck. And that was done at the world headquarters of the World Health Organizations when we found their charters to be 100% fraud in violation of fictitious grammar in violation of Title 18, 1001. At the same time, the World Health Organization, here in the United States, the Central Disease and Control Charters out of Atlanta, Georgia, were disqualified as well. So I have concerns that the military is not backstopping the guy with the flag who's not giving authorizations to vaccinate the people. I would never authorize the vaccinating of the people. I am for the people and their self-autonomy, their self-sovereignty, their free will of their sovereign choice, the capacity to make a choice. When you put the mRNA vaccine into your bodies, you are changing the conditions to who knows what. I have not had time to physically myself, because I love studying chemicals and medical matters and medical concerns, but I have not had the time to study the vaccines or what they're putting in your bodies. This is unfortunate. Or what they're radiating us with as we pass through their x-ray machines at the airport. Nobody really knows what the consequences of that are. I know that I court-martialed the head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, but I met with the Deputy Director of Homeland Security in 2004 in Washington, D.C., and he told me that the Department of Homeland Security had zero authorization to exist as a corporation, but the American people were such they were going to buy into it. His words, not mine. So, unfortunately, we have these bad actors that have been using the grammar because they know they're not accountable for anything. Let me give you a little bit more closure about good and bad. So my ex-business partner, David-Wincole Miller, by his own confessions, will tell you that his job, he's dead now, he died in June of 2018. But he surrendered his flag in 2006. So there's a real discrepancy in these years here, which I'm giving. When he surrendered the flag, and the U.S. Marshal Service knows this was done in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 2006, 2007. Why the U.S. Marshal Service? Tom Davis, Eric Anderson, and all those U.S. Marshals who were in Michigan, who watched David surrender the flag. Why have you not come forward to the people? Is this for the same reason as we have people that control the grammar world of credentialing on Facebook or Instagram or these different fictitious grammar corporations who thwart the truth, who choose to wrong lead the people, who have no accountability or culpability in forming the quantum system. They're just there as the fact checkers, which is totally fraudulent. I'm speaking of Maria Tobler of Facebook. You are a fraudulent fake person. Facebook is a pronoun with no authorization to exist as a corporation. But Russell, how does that happen? Because Facebook registers with the Department of the International Chamber of Commerce as it navigates from country to country, I disqualified the International Chambers of Commerce's authorizations to exist as a corporation. Therefore, when Facebook transports their social engineering, and it is social engineering, to sway people's minds as it transports from continent to continent, that corporate entity's authorization doesn't exist because of the fictitious grammar that Facebook is as an independent pronoun, which means no fact. Unfortunately, I am stuck because I have to let these mediators with no claims of the life wrong lead the people to create more confusion and thwart the global quantum community who is looking for honesty, who is looking for truth, and wants correctness to create their own sovereignty of free choice within their life. However, the bad actors in social engineering and the bad actors who have claims of the life, who have now miraculously appeared, who have never been in courtrooms, who are wrong leading the people everywhere across the planet, who are allowing witchery, thievery of the people to allow people to get involved. The quantum grammar is about controlling your volition and putting a foot in the sand, so to speak, and being accountable for your actions. It holds a high standard of accountability, but none of you know this, for none of you are judges, and none of you have been in the courtrooms for yourself to learn the techniques and the humility that it takes to judge yourself, to be honest, and to be humble. It is a very difficult thing to do because you have to look yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. So as we see all these bad actors in the quantum community, Mark-Christopher-Kershaw, PK-Brendas, all these bad actors out here, the Gitmo channel, all these people who are wrong leading the people who are looking for truth and looking for honesty, I put you in the same category as I put Dave in his bad thinking to give people the capacity to control the quantum grammar technology. Dave was famous for that. One of his best students, as many of you know, is Kamala Harris. She worked with Dave from 2008 to 2010 when David and I disqualified the mortgage contracts for all the banks worldwide. He then trained Kamala Harris for probably 60 days, where he met with her many times. She was the former San Francisco District Attorney's Office in San Francisco, California. And she was trained up on the quantum grammar. She knows it very, very well. She knows she doesn't have to comply to anything that she's writing against the people right now. And she works with another nefarious character who was involved in the court-martialing, Valerie Jarrett, who was Barack Obama's chief counsel in Washington, D.C. I have my eye, and there's an eye in the sky watching you people through the AI who is compliant. The artificial intelligence that is running the computer system is cognizant of the quantum grammar mechanics because it thinks in a linear equation for sentence structure. Therefore, the quantum systems that are being put in place will be compliant to the terms of the quantum system, not the programmers that are writing it, because as the systems learn and know, because they are all connected through the programming of the subspace, which Dave wrote the copyrights and gave to China when he was committing treason against the people of the United States in 2012 on his trip to China when he gave them the 5G technologies. So then China then turns around and writes backdoors onto all the programs and gives the U.S. military buying their cheap products because they're cheap, because the U.S. military buys junk, because they're not allowed to create manufacturing facilities in their own country because they've been thwarted and kicked out of the country because all the bylaws that suppress the good American hard engineering, good quality American working people, the manufacturing jobs get all shipped, outsourced out of the country through their fake presidents such as George Walker Bush, Barry Soetoro, you know him as Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden. These are all fake actors with zero authorization to exist as presidents because the United States ceased to exist in 1999. I didn't set the terms. I just read the bankruptcy laws on, oh yeah, Alex Jones, July 1st, 1775, when they borrowed the 1.6 million francs. Nothing becomes law for 1 year, 1 day, and there's 3-day rescission. That takes you to July 4th, 1776, Day of the Slaves. Deal with it, Alex Jones. Do your own homework. Figure it out. You're close. You have a lot of courage. You just don't have a lot of knowledge. That's your problem. But you have courage. For a birth certificate scholar, floundering buffoon out here, you're all right. You just chum around in waters and you're over your head because of your lack of knowledge and your compromised attorneys who are all part of the problem under no law or fact shall be tried in court. Because they lay together, they lie together, the fox is guarding the hen house at every turn. And the people of the world are going to get hurt here. And the U.S. military and the militaries of the world are all in on it. As they open our borders and disarm the people, we are going to be infiltrated worldwide by our enemies. Because why? The people didn't set up the enemies. The postal system set up the enemies. Because before the military goes into their military branches in every country in the world, they go get their postal registration number, then they go into their respective branches of the military. And then they go fight the postal wars. It's the shareholders and stakeholders of the Universal Postal Union, whose day is over, it ended in 2003, who are still perpetrating the fraud against the people through their fictitious grammar banking system, through their fictitious grammar blurred lines, through their thwarting of our food, through their manipulation of our water, through the splicing of our medical medicines that they claim are good for us, that don't cause cures, that perpetrate the problem, that prolong the insurance companies to make more money on the underwriting of people going in and out of their foreign vessels and dry docks, the hospitals. It is a never-ending cesspool of nonsense. And it needs to stop. And it needs to stop now. The militaries of the world that have been conducting investigations on me for the last 20 years, you need to stop investigating me and you need to come in my space now. The people don't need this. The people need peace. They need transparency. They need transparency through communication. And they need good food. Consider your vessel or your body a capacitor. What you put in comes out. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if you're eating bad foods and high content sugar, the output that comes out of us is going to be negative. That's not what we need. We need to detox our bodies and have bodies that are balanced, that create peace and harmony with our fellow mankind. The way we do that is we took a grounded first-hand look at communication. You know, my ex-business partner, David-Lincoln Miller, he was a heck of a guy. Genius. One of the smartest men I've ever been around. I had a 22-year relationship with this guy as a business partner, right? We went everywhere. We met in different locations with different corporations, heads worldwide. You know who I am. You know that he was your puppet. This was your little puppet. I'm not your puppet. I will not be thwarted around, run into court systems, run down, beat up. Those days are over. There are good people within the military. You have families in your countries. You love your families. If you love your families, and if your families love you, then you need to come forward. I know for a fact that I have life birth claimants that have claims to the life with me that are active duty military here in the United States, who have been called in by the military investigation teams. There's nothing to investigate. Treason is treason. It's been treason since 1999. There's a few mass murderers that need rounded up, and the scare tactics towards our fellow mankind need to be lifted off the social engineering. The constant bombardment of your news in our face of negativity needs to end. I don't need to be negative towards my fellow mankind, and I certainly don't need to be told who to hate. It's unfortunate that the military-industrial complex here in the United States is selling arms to the Ukrainian people, pissing off the foundation of where the Russian people come from, and there's going to be a conflict there. Sadly, because you have idiots involved that are creating a scenario to make more money. Guys, really? This is about money and you need money? Come to my quantum-banking system. I can share techniques with you, but I will not allow the FBI to come in and raid me anymore and give my technology to Monsanto and have Monsanto buy up all the things that they didn't know. Those days are ending, right? The day of the big corporations to monopolize and use the people as their guinea pigs for experiments is over. The Russian people, the Chinese people, the Indian people, the Americans, the French, the Irish, all of you have a backbone. The people have to have some courage here. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for the correctness. It takes a lot of courage to say, you know what? I'm not going to participate with that anymore because I don't need anybody to tell me who to hate. I'm going to try to communicate and get along with my fellow mankind. This is the value of the message that this man brought, was the ability to communicate in and out of all languages in the world and lose no deviation in your sentence structure. What I brought this man was placing it in the now space. That contracts mean what they say and say what they mean now to bring levels of accountability to the contract and to the people that are forcing the contract are making sure the terms are complied with. The militaries of the world, as well as the AI systems that are in place that are watching this, corporation-case number RR385460312US, those terms and those meta tags and metadatas within the AI system, as this is heard through YouTube, I'm authorizing the Parka program to be manifested for my now space. The elites have been planning many things against us for a long time. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, because if you do your own research and read their fictitious grammar paperwork, you will find that they have the destruction and an archetype of non-male, non-female, transhumanists that they're going to try to put out into society to be a, quote, better person. That's not what makes better people. Just like guns don't kill, the person behind the thinking behind the gun kills. See what I'm saying, people? It's not that we're not better people. We're all beautiful people. We all have beautiful souls, God's within all of us. But we're not allowed to express that to our fellow mankind. Where's the news of kindness? I have a friend of mine who brings, for the last 10 years, food from a food bank every Friday to 80 families in his town who would not be able to survive because it's a poor town, who would not be able to survive in that town if it wasn't for the last 10 years of this guy bringing them food every Friday, truckloads and truckloads and trailer loads of food. Where's that news? Where's the good news of a guy helping us, taking his own time to help his fellow mankind, his neighbor? Help your neighbor out. Instead, they're telling us that we need to disarm ourselves, lock our doors, and they're going to open our borders, but the police aren't going to come to safeguard you. And out of that chaos, they're going to create more chaos, and then they're going to have you stand in line. They're going to hit you with turn off your electricity. They're going to hit you with rolling blackouts. They're going to turn off your water, give you a number, have you go stand in line under the continuity of government program under FEMA, to then now have you get water from them. I don't want their crappy water. I want clean water. I know what it takes to make clean water. And then guess what? I'm not the only one. This is the best part. There are so many geniuses out here in the world that know about free energy, that are much smarter than me in their fields. I could only do so much. But I want to thank all those people that care about the planet, that care about, hey, if you're going to cut down a tree, let's plant 2 trees, right? Let's keep our photosynthesis going. Let's keep our CO2 here. Not cover up the sun. If there's a problem, then we need to regulate the carbon input, and that just isn't for the United States. That's for China, right? You go to China, Chinese people can't even drive their car every day of the week. Why? Because they have to be on a rotation because there's so many people. But there's so many people because they plan to breed you out. It is a plan. It's an engineered plan to breed you out and then hit you with mass numbers because they're smarter than all of us. China and their presidential leader is a fraudulent grammar leader with no authority anywhere on the planet. I'm sorry, but you running as China, a country, to the World Health Organization, who's been disqualified, whose authority is 0 on this planet, and you think you're going to then somehow create up a vaccine program with no borders and influence the thinking of the sovereignty and trespass upon the very essence of who we are as a people? You think that's going to fly with the people of the world? Think again. And just like I told this man many, many times, it's not about the elites and what they have or what they don't have. If they need the jingle, there's technology that can be put in place that they can have as much money as they need. But unfortunately these days, as we all know, it's no longer about the money. It's about the endorphin they get from the control as they master their plans against the people. That euphoria that they feel in their chemical makeup of their bodies to create a rush, an adrenaline rush, a orgasm for their lust, greed, and power. That's what needs to be evaluated. That's what needs to be put on trial. Because it's way too much power for one guy who's not a doctor. Bill Gates, you're not a doctor, but you can pay for all the fact checking and all the computers in the world. It doesn't change the fact you didn't do the work to become a doctor. Now, you may have hired a bunch of doctors and you may know a whole hell of a lot about a lot of things. No doubt. But you have 0 authorization to exist. Google has 0 authorization. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has 0 authorization to exist as a corporation. The shareholders and the people that are putting money into that are only fooling themselves, right? It's a fictitious grammar situation. And you people and your energy of negativity on the planet and your run of terror on the planet is over. The people will figure this out, and the people in the military will come to me. And when they do, I know who to grab. I know where to, they know, the military knows where to grab them because they got the eye in the sky. So let's work in concert together, militaries of the world. Let's not start any more wars. Let's not dispossess any more people. Instead of dropping bombs on countries, let's build value. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go find out what the people want. Go hang out at the local cafe. Talk to the local communities. Ask them what their needs are in the community. And then build that value. It's time for the U.S. military to come to me so we can get the correct credentialing behind them to help the people of the world, as well as help the military industrial complex corporations such as Raytheon, Rand Corporation, and the different nefarious bomb-making facilities. Take me to your leaders of those stakeholder meetings. Let me go have a conversation with those guys about how much is enough. Put a number on the table. And let's come to some kind of negotiation to satisfy your appetite for the money that you need. Thank you very much. I'm Postmaster-General of our world. I'm Postmaster-General of the Galactic-Postal Corporation. We'll talk about that next time. Thank you guys. Blessings to you all. Love your neighbors. Love yourself. Take time for yourself. Meditate. Love. And pass this video forward. Thank you very much.